Now, first up in content, sales scripts. Sales scripts are designed to help your reps initiate a conversation, build rapport with the prospect, identify if the prospect meets the buying criteria for your product, handle any objections that may arise, and move the conversation to the next step and further down that funnel. To better understand what's included in sales script, let's take a look at the PMA sales scripts template. I'll take you through this now. First, the template provides a simple introduction and rapport building prompt to help reps ease into the conversation. This should be simple. Focus on introducing themselves, the company, and the product very briefly. Then prompt the rep with a question that is related to why you're reaching out. This will be grounded in why the rep thinks the conversation is relevant to the contact. Let's imagine the rep works for the Product Marketing Alliance and is calling a head of product marketing to try to sell them subscriptions for their team. You might say, "Hey, this is Sapphire from the Product Marketing Alliance. I'm just calling as I thought you might be interested in our membership plans. I saw you recently moved into a head of product marketing role at your new company. Congrats! How are you finding your new role?" Once they've established that initial relationship and rapport, it's time to move on to why the call is relevant to the prospect. You want the rep to be able to frame up what benefits your product provides for their specific persona. It should be brief and shouldn't feel scripted, so the prospect feels like it's tailored specifically to them. You want to give them just enough so they don't misrepresent your product or turn the prospect off with irrelevant information. The sales rep may say something like, "So, I mentioned at the start I work for PMA, and our membership plans help people in the product marketing field skill up themselves and improve their product success and career prospects. I put together a demo on how heads of product marketing can increase the skills of their team, and I was wondering if you had some time to walk through that together." If the prospect has hesitancy to move the conversation forward, that's when they need objection handling prompts. Objection handling is about addressing the prospect's concerns and breaking down any barriers to move the conversation forward. If the prospect says, I'm not sure the memberships are right for us right now. I just joined. I need time to figure out what's going on in our business and get onboarded, before I start digging into my team's skills. The rep would probably want to follow up with something like, "Look, if you have the time, I'd love to better understand that concern." And the prospect might still push back, right? They might say, "Oh, I'm not sure what foundational skills or processes are in place. I'm really focused on trying to understand what's happening at the business level." That's a perfect opportunity to invite the prospect to move the conversation forward themselves by reiterating their pain in the context of other buyers who purchased the product and using that prompt to help them learn more. So that rep can really move it forward by saying, "I understand, and I speak to a lot of recently hired product marketing leaders who also say they need to onboard themselves and create that trust with the business, before they buy something like this. But if you don't mind me asking, how long from now do you think you'd be ready for a conversation like this?" This is a very natural bridge into discovery questions. Discovery questions are all about helping reps know that A, the prospect has the potential to be a customer that meets the criteria of an ideal buyer for your product, and B, what potential talking points they will want to use in later stages to position your product. If sales reps spend time on an unqualified prospect, they're wasting valuable time they could be spent on converting a potential customer. An easy-to-follow framework for discovery questions is what we call the BANT framework. BANT stands for budget, authority, need, and time frame, and includes questions like budget, really straightforward, what's your budget? Authority, who is responsible for purchase decisions at your organization? Need, what challenges are you currently facing? And how do you currently go about bridging the gap and solving them? And then time frame, how soon are you looking to find and implement a solution? So the question I shared before, asking if the prospect would be ready to have a conversation like this, is highlighting the T for time frame in BANT. In the Product Marketing Alliance scenario, the rep may also ask a follow-up question like, what are some of the biggest challenges you've identified so far as you've been onboarded into the company, in order to find more about the needs they might need to solve, or the N in the BANT framework. Another easy-to-follow framework for discovery is MEDPIC, a sales qualification tactic which stands for M, metrics are asking about how the buyer will quantify success with your product. E, for economic buyer, are asking who is the decision maker with the authority and budget to spend. D, decision criteria, are asking what factors the buyer is weighing your product against. The second D is for decision process, or asking who else is involved in the buying process and what steps lead to a final decision. P for paper process, or asking what steps are required to complete the contractual agreements. I, for implications of pain, are asking how long the buyer can withstand the pain of not buying and what the cost is of doing so, expressed in something like revenue or satisfaction. And then C, the champion, or asking who in the organization is going to be your biggest advocate in pushing the deal forward and using the product. And last but not least, competition, or asking who else they are evaluating to solve their problem and what might differentiate you from that competition. Discovery questions should also help nudge the prospect into realizing they have a problem that can be solved. MedPick highlights this with the I for implications of pain. Looking back at that PMA example, the rep may say something like, I understand your hesitancy to buy something new for your team at a time like this. Yet many of the recently hired product marketing leaders we've talked to have found that providing their team a resource like this actually really helps them focus more on understanding the business challenges. It gives product marketing managers the ability to self-service with best practices and tips while you focus on the all-important business. Additionally, it can help you show how invested you are in your team's success from day one. Right? You're including all these high-level pain points and talking points and scripts for your reps, so that's just an illustrative example. If you've piqued the prospect's interest, it's time to keep the momentum going and proactively move them to the next stage of the funnel. So the script would guide the rep to say, if you're interested, I could get one of our product specialists to show you around our solution so you can see how it may work for your team. Remember that this initial conversation is not to show all your cards. It's about building rapport and moving them from interest to consideration. Generally, these types of calls are handled by sales, business, or account development reps whose primary job is getting the prospect on the phone with the account executive for next steps.